Welcome back to Bleeding Blue, a sit-down podcast with Exeter's athletes. I'm Adam Cooke, the host of this production, as well as a writer, reporter, soccer announcer, and baseball manager at Exeter. Today, I talked with Ava Strauss, who has been one of the most involved seniors at Exeter. She's been part of the volleyball team and numerous other clubs, and fulfilled a sports broadcasting internship in the fall with Jerry Geleff Media, which earned her the Berks Best Award for Communications from the Berks County Communication Foundation. We talked about her athletics, media career, commitment to the University of South Carolina, and more. I hope everyone enjoys the show. Welcome back to Bleeding Blue, a podcast with Exeter athletes. I'm joined by Ava Strauss, a senior volleyball player who has additionally been involved with sports broadcasting and media at Exeter. So, how are you, Ava?
I'm good, Adam. How are you?
I'm good. So, do you just want to give yourself a little introduction of who you are?
So, my name is Ava Strauss. I am another sports broadcasting internee at Exeter Township Senior High School. I'm a senior, and I interned with Jerry Geleff Media this past fall.
So right now you're committed to the University of South Carolina for sports journalism. So what made you choose South Carolina, and what were some of the other schools that you were looking at during that process?
So I had applied to a lot of schools. That was a big thing for me because I wanted to explore a lot of my options. I knew that I wanted to go into communications, and then I further wanted to concentrate in sports broadcasting. So it took me a little while to decide, what programs look the best, their credibility, people who have graduated from those colleges inside the schools, and a lot of those happen to be down south. I was very interested in that, especially because of athletics. So that's what kind of narrowed down more and more for South Carolina for me.
Is that do you know what conference they're in for?
SEC.
So is that excite you to be able to cover SEC games?
Yeah, and football down south is a very big deal compared to up here. I know Penn State football is huge, but the football games down there are pretty crazy, so I'm excited to see how those all play out.
Yeah, that'll be fun. What do you think that's going to be like for you to be able to cover such big games for you and your career?
I think it will be very beneficial for me. A person who graduated from USC actually is Alyssa Lang, and she now works for Sports Center, covering football for SEC, and that's who I aspire to be, and I take a lot from her. That's my main focus to build up to of what I want to do for my career. So seeing her doing what she does, knowing that she graduated from South Carolina, I have a lot of high hopes for studying there.
Do you look to be someone like her that's maybe like a sports analyst on a show, or do you know exactly what you want to do in the sports media realm, because it's a very broad field?
Yeah, it is very broad, especially after going my admitted student days. There's a lot of tiny little concentrations you can go into. I am not 100% sure. I'm definitely leaning more towards the on-camera broadcasting side of things. I wouldn't be upset doing a little bit more analytic type just to get my writing and that type of stuff down, but definitely leaning more towards on-screen reporting.
So what originally made you invested in sports media, and how did you enter the field? Was that with Jerry Geleff?
So it kind of went hand in hand. It was probably middle of my junior year. I was thinking about what schools I was wanting to apply to and what type of major I wanted to go into. And I loved writing, and I'm an athlete myself, like you said. My family is very big athletes. J.R. Strauss, you probably know. My brother Finn Strauss is a wrestler. So very athletic family to begin with. I've just always had a very big love for sports, so I kind of put two and two together and thought that may be something that I want to keep pursuing in my life. And then I came to find out that sports broadcasting is a major that you can study in school, so I kind of got set on that. And in terms of my internship with Jerry Geleff, I met with Mr. Ricketts, the internship coordinator at Exeter Township Senior High School, and he gave me a few options. Jerry happened to be one of them, and we hit it off right away, and it ended up being very successful.
What importance did that internship with Jerry have for you? I mean, to be on broadcast, have your own podcast, and do other things like that.
Yeah, so I was very used to in TV production with doing E4 News and all that stuff. It was a lot of on-camera and very visual, but with Jerry's company, it is all audio-based and podcast-based. So that gave me a very different perspective on how sports broadcasting can be produced and presented to an audience. And it was very beneficial for me. I had to learn how to speak live. I had to learn how to be on time with what I wanted to say and how I wanted to say it. I had to do a little bit of my homework on football because I don't play football, which took a little bit of time. I had to figure out positions and everything, but I caught on pretty quickly, and I think they were very helpful mentors. They communicated with me frequently, which made it a lot easier as well.
Yeah, you mentioned E4 and TV studio broadcast with Mr. Farrell, right? Mm-hmm. When did you start TV production 1, and did you finish all the way through all 3 classes?
Yes, so my freshman year was COVID, so I didn't really know much about the courses at Exeter, but once my sophomore year started, I was like, oh, like you can take a class to do those types of things. And I started taking the class, immediately fell in love with it, fell in love with the teacher. Mr. Farrell is an amazing teacher. He gave us a lot of creative freedom. So my sophomore year, I took TV1, where you do all the basics of editing. We used a lot of Adobe and Premiere softwares, and then as you go up, you level up to just TV2, TV3, TV4. And at that point, I was the head co-anchor for 2 years. So that was my first time being like, okay, like you gotta like publicly speak in front of all of your teachers and peers, which made me a lot more confident talking, I think, on camera.
Even though you eventually got that confidence from an experience like that,
right?
Was that a little scary at first for you?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like it's always just like those first like jitters. I bet you've probably felt that too with your internship when you're talking to, even though they are students in the school or coaches, like there is a little bit of a pressure because you know that there is a slight judgment, whether you think so or not. But at the end of the day, you just have to know that you are your biggest critic and the work you do is always going to be successful. So
I know you kind of touched on it, but what kind of a position do you think that you're in for others seeing you and what you're doing as a sports journalist broadcaster?
I think a big thing for me is being female in that industry. It's not very common that women are talking about sports like football, basketball, those types of things. And as I've grown to study the programs and watch, obviously, ESPN, SportsCenter, all these broadcasting companies, there are more and more women joining that type of environment. And I find that very comforting, knowing that I'm getting and putting myself in a position where I can be around people who are experiencing the same things as me and can give me that type of feedback and support because they've gone through those same things as I have.
Yeah. Is there any sport particularly that you really enjoy covering, whether it's male, female, or, exactly what it is?
I don't know if it was just because of the timing and semester that I was in, but football was the most fun experience I've ever had in my life. I think being in the booth was so fun. I got to see the whole field. I got to hear everybody. I got to be on the field talking to the guys and the coaches and the student section even sometimes. That was just a very exhilarating experience for me. I think anybody who's going into broadcast journalism should get themselves reporting in a football game because that is going to be your biggest crowd, biggest amount of energy. It helped me with, again, I keep saying confidence, but having that type of environment around you helps you to perform well, I think.
Yeah, I remember my first football game was actually this year. Definitely Exeter crowd. That's always great. So, so your internship with Jerry was in the fall. Was that intentional to cover football and basketball, or was that kind of just a schedule thing?
I think it kind of was both. I take a lot of AP honors classes, and I assume you do probably as well. Yeah. And with those types of classes, they're all block classes, and they're in specific times of the year. So I kind of did have to work my way around what times I wanted. Did I want my internship all year? Did I want it half the year? I ended up choosing half the year, and I got to be had my internship for a block period at a time. And I liked it being in the fall because I feel like basketball and football are very big, crowded sports and entertaining sports in any high school scenery. As much as I would have loved to report for baseball and the spring sports, I feel like those were the most beneficial for me to involve myself in.
Did that complicate things when you're playing volleyball and doing all that stuff at the same time?
See, what made it easy is our volleyball schedule. We never had a game on Friday. My internship time was always, majority of it at least, was my Friday night games. So I would have to edit at school as much as I could, and even sometimes spend time like we are right now after school reporting or asking people questions. And then I'd come home, eat, go right to practice or my game, which it was a bit of a crunch. I had to really lock in with my timing, but it got easier and easier as I got into a routine of what I knew my schedule was, like figuring out what I needed to edit for either myself or Jerry's company. So it ended up working out, but in the beginning it was definitely a bit difficult to manage.
Yeah. Obviously people see the work you're putting out, all the interviews, all the podcasts, that kind of stuff. But what is some of the stuff that you have to manage with your time after school, and stuff that people wouldn't really see?
One big thing is definitely I do have a job outside of sports broadcasting. I was a lifeguard, and I work currently in a gym daycare. So sometimes I'd have to edit, and trying to focus with screaming 3-year-olds is not the easiest. But I'd sometimes even watch some of the basketball games or edit some of the clips with the kids. They would always love watching it with me and giving me little bits of critiquing, even though they probably have no idea what's going on. So that's one of the big things outside of that. I also had my Instagram. I would post a lot. You have one as well. I would post a bit on there just to kind of highlight like when I'd be posting my podcast. That was a bit easier to manage though, because I feel like social media for us as teenagers we're more on that speed.
Yeah. And your last post on Instagram was with your friend Grace Reed, right? And her record breaker for Exeter. So
yes.
What did it mean to finish out acknowledging your
Yeah, I
friend
guess
like
like
that?
finishing out my internship was really seeing Grace finish with her 1,000, and it was a very emotional time, I think, for both of us. It was a bit hard for me to ask questions just because I was so excited for her, being her best friend. We've been best friends since we're 3 years old, so it's just a really big, like, proud moment for me and her to see her succeed. She works very hard as an athlete, and she deserves everything and every recognition from that. She had broken a couple other records too, like the leading scorer for women, which was also even bigger accomplishment. Just those little things that like happened in high school that like I am grateful to have experienced, especially with my best friend.
Yeah. What are some of the other memories and moments that you'll probably cherish looking back at Exeter?
I think like my first football game reporting, like that was just a very like exciting night. I was so nervous driving to the game. I was like talking to myself in the car, like, you got this, everything's good. And although I didn't get to be in the student section my senior year, which is like that big thing, because everyone's like, you're in the front row, but I got to be on the field. Like I was like, this is so fun. Like I get to walk around. Everybody's excited for me. That was definitely a big moment for me. I was on the prom court this year, which was fun to do. I got to see my brother Finn win king. So that was exciting. Just those little moments, like, you just, like, think back and you cherish, like, always. Like, never waste your time in high school. Make every moment count.
Yeah, and you're unique in the fact that you're interviewing players, mid-game, right? So what is it like, kind of a practice interview, an in-game interview, and a post-game interview? What are some of the differences there that you've noticed?
So pre-game, usually there's always a good vibe. Specifically for football, I'll say the boys are always very hype. They're excited. They have they're destined to win the game. And sometimes, which it happens in sports, and as athletes we know, if you lose a game, there's going to be a little bit of upsetment. Yeah. And I had reported for I think it was the game that Riley Martinez had gotten injured on the field.
Yeah.
And afterwards, it was kind of difficult to catch the guys in a moment because they were all emotional from that. And it is my job as a reporter to ask them those questions, but sometimes you do have to think and sit back and be like, maybe it's not the best time to do this. I can interview them later when everyone's settled. So I'd say that's definitely one of the things about post-game. It's like a 50-50 shot. If you win, it's a great vibe. If you lose, maybe not so good, but that's the thing. Mid-game, a little bit more difficult just because sometimes the players are like, I'll talk later, we don't have time, I gotta stay in the zone, which I totally get.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to play volleyball and someone's trying to talk to me, I'd be like, 1 second. So sometimes that'd be difficult, but it always works out in the end.
I mean, as an athlete on a team, you kind of understand some of those emotions, like you said. So how does that affect how you're going about things and asking questions?
I think, especially since it was my senior year doing this as well, I tried to keep in mind that if I was talking to a senior and it was their last game, or especially with back to Grace, how it was her 1,000 point, like, you kind of have to read the room and see, like, how, like, what would I want to be asked, and like what emotions would I be feeling right now if this was me in this game, if I just scored this many points, or if I had lost, to this team. Those are definitely the biggest things, I think, in that aspect.
What originally got you into volleyball, and when did you start playing, and what kept you playing through your senior year?
So I actually, when I was younger, hated the idea of volleyball. I never wanted to step foot on the court. I thought it was so stupid. And my older sister Audrey, she played volleyball at Exeter, and she was a varsity middle for 4 years. And I started to watch her play, and I was like, okay, this is I can vibe with this. And then COVID happened. And at that point, I had played basketball, soccer, lacrosse. I was like all-around athlete for all 3 seasons. And I finally started practicing with my sister, and I was like, I kind of like this. This is fun. I started playing club. I got really good, I'd say. I'm pretty tall, as you know.
Yeah.
I'm 5'9", so that definitely helps in volleyball.
Yeah.
And freshman year, I was on varsity all 4 years, and I just kept up with it. I'm in love. I will never let volleyball go. I plan to play club in college, so it's an amazing sport. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, when I started watching, on the sidelines, it was a little like confusing, but then I was like, it's fun. Yeah. I remember the county championship I was at. It was Wilson and Twin Valley. Mm-hmm. That was probably the best game I've ever covered. Yeah. So it's exciting. Mm-hmm. It's exciting. What position do you play? Do you also play middle like your sister?
So for one club season, I had to play middle because girls were injured. But in my high school season, I'm a right side.
Got it. What role do you think you have on the team in terms of play, morale, that kind of stuff?
So if you were to ask any of my teammates or my coaches, I am the most loud, rowdy girl. If you've watched us play volleyball, I'm jumping out of my seat. I've got told by the refs that I have to stay behind the line because I get too excited when we score. I'm that player. I'm hyping everyone up. I've lost my voice at games. I've probably popped blood vessels. I just have no room when I'm playing to like get down on myself. I don't want to see my teammates down, so I always try and keep everybody up. I'm always encouraging. If they mess up, I'm like, all right, next play. So I feel like that's the biggest thing, especially in volleyball when the sport is basically based on mistakes. So you have to keep a mentality of like, all right, you forget it, next point, but build it back up. So.
I mean, how does that mentality on the court help you as a person, as a student?
I think as a person and student overall, it helps me because I know that I need to, like, if I need to get my work done, I cannot procrastinate. I need to know that, like, I'm doing it to better myself. It's only to better myself. And especially for other people, if they're struggling in school, I am always happy to help people, especially because I do take those higher level courses. If someone is having trouble, I do anything in my power to like help explain it to them. I talk to my teachers, consistently communicating with them if I ever have trouble. So I think it definitely helps me with communicating, and also with back to like sports broadcasting. I feel like having that positive reinforcement with yourself definitely helped me to do the things I did in my internship and with sports broadcasting so far. Mm-hmm.
All right, we're going to move in just a few rapid-fire questions. I'm going to ask you a question. You just list off what you think. All right, got it. Favorite class to high school?
TV production.
Favorite sport to watch?
Football.
Hardest year of the high school you've had?
Junior year.
Hidden talents?
Ooh. Oh, I don't know. Hidden talents. I can sing.
Favorite game day music?
Game day music. Ooh, anything by like Drake or Metro. Those are my big guys. Yeah.
Kind of contrasting now, though.
Yeah, I know. A lot going on with that.
Favorite restaurant in Exeter?
Ooh, Applebee's.
Wawa or Sheets?
Oh no, I think Sheets. Just because it's so close to high school, I can just grab and
That's
go
fair.
quick. Yeah.
That's fair. So obviously senior graduation less than a month from now. So what are your emotions with that?
I've had such mixed emotions, I feel, because I'm going out of state. It's a 9-hour drive from home, which is a big distance. I have a lot of friends up here, a lot of family. So it's been a little emotional in that standpoint. I feel like, it's like I'm happy and sad at the same time, because I feel like I've accomplished so much. I'm very proud of myself and happy with the memories and everything that I've made here. But I'm also ready to move on. I'm ready to be my own person. Yeah, that's how I've been feeling, I guess.
Yeah. How have your family members been able to affect you and allow you to grow throughout the high school and your entire life, really?
So my mom is a teacher at BCTC, so I've had a lot of teacher standpoint from my mom. My dad also, he is very smart, and both of them are very, very, very supportive of me and my siblings. They always push us to do the best of the best that we can because they know that we are capable. And I totally agree that we are very capable of doing those things. Sometimes it does get a little emotional because you feel, so as students, we do get frustrated at times. But at the end of the day, I'm very grateful that my parents do push me to be the best that I can, because I'm now happy at the school I've landed at, and I've just accomplished so many things that I wouldn't have probably been able to do without their support.
Yeah. Did your parents go to Exeter, or did they go somewhere else?
No, so they are from up north, northern PA in Pottsville.
Got it.
So they went to Pottsville High School, and then they moved down here.
But you've had a lot of siblings at the high school so far?
Yeah, I have a lot of family who have gone to Exeter.
Yeah.
My sister Audrey, she was a 2020 grad. Me and Finn are at Exeter. My cousin Peyton Strauss, she's at Exeter. My cousins, JR, I could go on and on. I have a lot of family who went to school here.
Yeah, so how has that impacted your time at Exeter? Has that changed anything at all?
Well, when I first got to Exeter, when Mr. Vecchio was the strength teacher, me and JR both had strength with him, and he had thought JR was my brother. So he was like, he would always joke around with me, saying like that I gotta I'm like JR is skinny, that I'm getting bulkier than him, like just like joking around. The whole school was everyone knew that we were related, and that made it a lot easier too, having like those older, I guess, sibling cousin vibe in the high school, knowing that I had someone to go to. For sure.
When you're looking back at your time at Exeter, what will you remember most about the high school, the community, everything like that?
One thing I will remember most is that everyone is always there for your support. Everyone is always there to help you. They are very good at keeping the students involved. We just had the Mental Health Awareness Week, which I was absolutely in love with. I got my little shaved ice. I petted dogs. Like, it was
nice.
Great. I think we honestly need to do more of those types of things. So hopefully this podcast reaches out to someone up at that power. But I think just things like that they do are very important, especially in keeping a community together. And especially at a high school level, we're all getting to that age where we are going off to figure out what we want to do with our lives. And without that type of support and a small community, it wouldn't be as good, I don't think. Yeah.
Well, in what ways have you been involved with stuff like that, or any other clubs? Or
Yeah, so I've been involved in a few clubs. I'm in Spanish Club, NHS, Minithon. Oh gosh, what else have I done? Those are like my main ones that I can think of off the top of my head. For Spanish Club, we did an angel tree, so we donated gifts to children in need. I did that for the past 2 years. NHS, we've done whole bunch of stuff. I've done Teachers in the Parks, just like a whole lot of stuff. Minithon, obviously, we've raised thousands of dollars for children's cancer research.
Since you're so involved with everything around here, what does it mean to you to be an Eagle, bleed blue?
Right. I am very proud to be an Exeter Eagle. I will say that till the day I die. I am now a Gamecock, so I'm still in the bird realm, but a little bit different. I'm now red too, so that's a bit hard pill for me to swallow, because I've always said like I'm against the red because of the Wilson Bulldogs, but I've got it. You know, I loved Exeter so much. I've had a really good time. I don't regret anything that I have had, any situation in Exeter. I loved it.
Is there anything else you want to add on with today?
I don't think so. I mean, I guess for you, just keep up with what you're doing. You're doing amazing. I definitely would love to keep in contact and see how you're progressing through your sports broadcasting journey.
Appreciate that. Best of luck down at USC.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you to Ava for coming on the show, and thank you to everyone for tuning in today. If you want to stay in the loop with Bleeding Blue, check out my website, adamcookejournalism.com. Follow me on all my socials at Adam Cooke Journalism, and hit the follow or subscribe button wherever you're listening. Thank you for supporting local journalism with Bleeding Blue. This is Adam signing off.